Okay, party people, game number 1, NWL. We actually have a Nations Cup war right now. We have Germany going up against Sweden, and this is going to be a fun one. We have a Night Elf versus Undead, and down to the bottom right, a German player. We have WaN, White and Nerdy, with the Smurf account obsolete, starting here immediately with Altar and Crypt, so not heading straight away into Fiends or any kind of shenanigans. And up to the top of the map of Turtle Rock here, we have LiiLD.C for Sweden. Now, I gotta admit, this is a little bit of a throwback for me. Now, first of all, coming back to WarCraft 3 and then realizing that a lot of the old school boys are either still playing or are currently coming back was already amazing. Seeing people like Madfog, for example, all of a sudden start streaming and stuff. But then coming in and also seeing that a tree hugger like LiiLD.C is still around was actually pretty fun. And when I heard about Germany versus Sweden, I thought, okay, we're gonna give that one a shot. And later on, we're even going to get a Thorzane match, which I am way more excited about than I probably should be, but after casting him back then in Warcraft 3, then in StarCraft 2, and now again in Warcraft 3, it's kind of nice to see him there again. So okay, 2 more relics already been thrown out. We have a Death Knight here as the first hero, a bit of scouting going on. I mean, first of all, when you're playing on Turtle Rock, the most important info is, does my opponent spawn cross, or is he close position? If he's close position, you can get away with all kinds of shenanigans. I mean, there's, in certain matchups, you can tower rush, you can go for, especially with Night Elf, for a lot of early harass as well. So you kind of need to be in the know of what you're up against. Especially as an Undead player, if you start losing your Acolytes, and you're already in quite a lot of trouble. So if that early game harass is going to hit you hard, then yeah, you need to be careful. And of course, for WaN on the other side, it's also now a question of, do I creep, do I harass? And up to the top, LiiLD.C starting with the Ancient of War here right away, trying to get a little bit of turtle soup going for lunch here today, taking the first few out. Interesting part, if you're a little bit newer to Warcraft 3, again, we're going to cover some of the basics occasionally. One of the things that's highly important is that you're actually going to make sure that you, that you don't kill the minions with that Ancient of War, because if you do, then you're ending up in a situation where you don't get any of the experience, and you really don't want to do that. So you need to make sure that you hit that with a hero. And talking about the hero, so for now, WaN actually starting to get a little bit of creeping in himself. Level 2 aura would definitely help him a lot. Problem, of course, is if you want to go up against the Keeper, that Entangle is going to be a huge problem. Now, for most Night Elf players, if you're not trying to go for a super early harass, your idea is always that you are trying to just go for treants first, move in, and just help get some creeping going with those. So until you hit level 2, you won't be able to rely on Entangle. But as an Undead player, you still have to be a little bit cautious. Keeper in particular is one of the main reasons why Night Elf can be so dominant in the early stages in the mid game, because if you pump out a lot of tier 1 units, for example, you can just easily control the map, force the opponent into a ton of fights through Entangle, and play it through those. Important in that case, though, is that we are still playing in the new, we're playing in the new patch. So meaning we have the Entangle duration at least reduced slightly, which is going to be fairly important. And we're going to see how much of an impact that has. Like, Keeper in general was already nerfed quite a bit, so you have a damage reduction on the treants coming in, the Entangle duration was also reduced, but still most of what the Keeper really brought to the game for Night Elf is still in play. So I guess in the patch we're still going to see a lot of Keeper first from Night Elf. There's a couple of variations. If you look at Night Elf streams right now, you'll see that a lot of them are actually starting to also experiment a bit more with Demon Hunters again, depending on the race they go up against. But overall, Keeper is still quite dominant. Pendant of Energy for LiiLD.C here, and also able to keep the Ancient of War here alive. That was a bit of a close one. Gets good creeping going, and therefore nearly hitting level 3 with this one as well. Is actually going to hit it in just a second. Looking in the main base, we have a Tree of Life that was immediately scouted. So he's actually at this point just trying to play tier 1 and attempts to get to a fast expansion as quickly as possible. Whereas WaN is also just going for more and more creeping here. Hits level 3 as well with his Death Knight. Super important here for him too. Potion of Invulnerability is going to be great for later on. And he also got a Claw, which is going to be fantastic once that he enters the game with his Lich. So for Undead, nothing really has changed here in the matchup. With him, you want to make sure that you're now going into tier 3 as fast as you can. Want to add your Lich, and then you just go straight with the Slaughterhouse, try and get maybe a bit of a push going once you have the Orb of Corruption, and see where you're headed with that. But here comes exactly what I talked about earlier. Already that attempt to control the mid game by LiiLD.C has a few hundreds now in the mix. Nice coil. That level 2 coil really paying off right now for the Undead player. And so far, those ghouls dodged the Night Elf completely, so making sure that Death Knight distracted them a bit and starts to continue creeping. And as long as LiiLD.C doesn't catch him here, that's actually going to work out really well for White Nerdy. Might actually be able to get 1 or 2 of those ghouls. Yeah, this one is a goner for sure. That entangle is definitely going to take him down, and that's a bit more experience for the Keeper, who immediately moves in, tries to get a bit more, but WaN already attempting to rush away here. Now the expansion for LiiLD.C is ready, but he hasn't really gotten the chance to get that up, so currently that's only an investment that hasn't really paid off for him at all yet. We're still seeing a bit of pressure play throughout the middle here from LiiLD.C. 1 and 29 supply himself against the 33 of LiiLD.C. Here comes that first entangle. Now keep in mind, there is still a potion of invulnerability, so that's not really too much of an issue at this point. We're also seeing Dust of Appearance in the inventory for the Death Knight, so is always going to be in a position where if Shadow Melt is being used, he can counteract that. We're seeing the Lich coming in, tier 3 tech as predicted, and outside of that, still a focus onto ghouls. Getting rid of all the items for now for the Lich, getting another Rod of Necromancy, and then starting to probably head up and try and make sure that that expansion is not going to become too much of a problem. But we still don't have it in play for LiiLD.C, so it's only the investment that he had into the Ancient, but hasn't really used it yet. The Night Elf player on 37 supply for the time being. And WaN just running around with his Death Knight right now, trying to see if he can maybe get a little bit of action going with that. Looking down to the bottom. Let's check that out. Yeah, Lich is out, has now the damage items, has the mantle as well. We're seeing the first slaughterhouse coming up, second slaughterhouse immediately being built. And here's now that expansion attempt that we've been talking about a bit earlier. So you really want to make sure that you get that going as fast as you can. In regards to tech, we're just about to see tier 2 for LiiLD.C. But that Lich and Death Knight are now trying to get a bit of damage in. And that could actually maybe mean one of the archers. Keep in mind, he doesn't have the Orb of Corruption just yet. One of the most important tools if you're an Undead player. Entangle on the Lich. Surround attempt here as well. Could break through the tree and the archer is doing exactly that. Coil on 2 is really helping out here. Lich survives. And so does the Death Knight. He's trying to get a little bit more, but the entangle hits home. Potion already being used, but invulnerability is still not. Coil, and down goes Archer number 2. So far, so good. 1 at 34 supply, 42 for LiiLD.C. And of course, as mentioned before, the expansion is now in play as well. Keeper on level 4, trying to take down the Lich. Keep in mind, there is no mana on the Death Knight, but the Potion of Invulnerability had to be used. It's a little bit of a weird trade-off here, because you're currently in a situation where you have a Potion of Invulnerability, not even lesser, but a full one, and you're sacrificing it for level 1 Lich. Not quite sure if that was really worth it for him here. It's 100 experience that you gain as a Night Elf player if you take down that Lich, because it's only level 1, so it's basically 4 Acolytes. At the same time now, though, if you lose that Lich, then you are in a position where you can't really move onto the map and you can't really control the flow of the game here. Orb of Corruption is now out, but that was definitely one of those situations where you could argue, okay, do you really use the Potion of Invulnerability here? Do you let the Lich go down and play around it later? For the time being, though, he seems to be completely fine with that choice. We're seeing also more creeping going on from LiiLD.C all the way up at the top, and that's going to be an Orgalord camp for him, so item is going to be super important here. As also kind of assumed, Alchemist as a second hero coming in. It's the combo right now. You're going into Keeper, you're going into Alchemist, and they actually get the Ancient Django of Endurance for the Endurance Aura. Whoa. Always amazing to get a couple of aura items, and this one is great for him right now. Lich on level 2. I mean, you have the Rune Braces. Normally not really an item that you want to get as an Undead player, because, well, it's usually your opponent that would like to have that item. If you're going up against the Entangle, maybe a little bit useful, but still likely that if he's in a pinch later on, and that there's going to be a little bit of extra gold flowing into the pockets of the Undead by just selling that. But WaN is actually doing pretty well when it comes to creeping. I mean, he hasn't really gone for any of the Orgalord spots yet, but he is getting a couple of those Gigantic Sea Turtles. That's the second one right now. Grabbed the additional spawning spot and is now also in possession of another Potion of Invulnerability. Has only one... No, he has no Rod of Necromancy at this point, actually. So, no Rod for him. but still looking to potentially attack here. 38 supply, going for that expansion, and we're seeing 60 supply already for LiiLD.C. In general, the Night Elf is in a really good spot right now, even though he's heavily relying on those the tier 1 units, but that snipe on the expansion is never gonna work. I mean, this is looking really risky here. Hunters are already in level 4 on the side of the Death Knight. TP has to be used, and a fair amount of the ghouls are already gone. LiiLD.C with a great defense here. 56 supply for him. WaN trying to get his own expansion into play right now. 38 supply on his side, and things are really not looking too pretty. Has double abomination currently in production. Rod of Necromancy now for him as well. So even thinking about maybe adding a potion of mana. He doesn't really have the gold for it though. Problem is that the Death Knight has been really low on mana most of the time here, and that doesn't help him at all. Ancient of War up to the top with the Moonglaive upgrade now. Looking into the main base, we're actually seeing one Ancient of Lore here for him. A couple of upgrades coming through as well. Looking at those Hunters, we're currently seeing them on +1, +2 is going to hit in just a little bit. And in the meantime, White Nerdy is trying to get some additional nukes in. Just moving through, trying to get one nuke after another. A bit of Coil Nova action to make sure that he's dropping a few Archers and Huntresses here. But the creeping continues, and that Entangle is still a problem, even with the Destroyers around for the Dispel. One call through. Another upgrade. Level 3 Alchemist. And oh boy, Potion of Greater Healing and a Ring of Regeneration. Level 5 as well. And this is not looking pretty for him. There's the Entangle, the Surround. The spell a bit too late to save the Lich. And this time he's down. Lich eliminated, and that bad boy was only on a level 2. The Alchemist now moving through as well, and things are starting to hurt a bit here. We're still having the expansion in play, but as you can see, there's only a single Acolyte that actually harvests here, and LiiLD.C is just controlling the flow of the game at this point. Moving in, double checking if there is an additional base for the Undead player, which is indeed the case, and that is an absolute goner. 45 supply for the Undead, we have 70 for LiiLD.C, and the Swedish Nightelf player really wants to make sure that he wins the first map in this best of 2. Already the unsummoning here started, but it's not looking pretty for WaN at all. I mean, at this point, 2 attack upgrades. He's just desperately trying to get some extra gold in there, focusing on abominations a little bit more, hoping, of course, also to get a pretty decent item here. But he's on 1 gold mine against 2 still. Hasn't crossed over into the low upkeep on the other hand, so that's a bit of a plus. But he doesn't even have the Lich with this army, so it's only experience for the Death Knight that we're looking at. Gets the Medallion of Courage. I mean, I want to say there's worse, but at this point in time you get a bit of a stats boost, whereas on the other side we've seen LiiLD.C with the Endurance Aura, so there's a pretty clear winner when it comes to the items. Level 4 nearly for the Alchemist, like he's looking fantastic as well. And in the main base in the meantime, I mean, just more upgrades being cranked out right now. So seeing armor upgrades also coming in, 2 100s already. Keeper comes down as well. Not a single upgrade at this point for him. Here's the Lich back to business. Doesn't have level 3 yet. Needs 1 more hit. And there we go. Nova now in 2, but he doesn't have the mana any longer. Abo barely gets coiled here before it goes down, but we already have a couple of Dryads joining the fray for the slow and the poison. And that makes it way more difficult for the Undead player to actually move away from this. Keeper with another Entangle, another Abomination in trouble. Dispel comes in too late. Lich with the Dark Ritual here. But things are absolutely horrifying here for White and Nerdy. He's just on the run, trying to escape. Down here, still trying to get another expansion into play, but that might never be an issue. Maybe if he can get the kill here, the Keeper low might have to actually TP out, and that's the case. Can force it, loses the Abomination though. Big problem here for him. But LiiLD.C now on 80 supply against the 48 of WaN. So White and Nerdy still in the no upkeep. Whereas we're already seeing low upkeep, crossing soon over into high for the Night Elf player from Sweden. Another item being dropped here, this time Ilaria's Flute of Accuracy. I mean, it's good that the Night Elf didn't get it from his perspective, but to be absolutely honest with you, considering that he only relies on the Lich and the Destroyer here in ranged units, that's not really a lot that helps him. TP's out as the Night Elf starts to creep Jack. And in the meantime, LiiLD.C is just controlling the macro aspect of the game completely. Tree of Life built by him now as well. Soon going to be on the 3 mining gold mines. And as you can see right now, we're having WaN still Yeah, still at 50. I mean, he doesn't really have any upgrades. He's currently playing with the Disease Cloud Air Bombs and has that one Destroyer to dispel and tangle. Outside of that, hasn't really gotten rid of that those Ruined Bracers either. He keeps it in his inventory just to counteract the Entangle to at least an extent. But this expansion is absolutely needed for him right now. And the problem is that even though he's investing a lot with the double Ziggurat and also the Necropolis, he only has a single Acolyte mining. The second one is coming in. But it's only a matter of time until LiiLD.C pushes. So if you're the underplayer, you have to make sure that you're trying to just keep your opponent busy, and that's not going to be easy by any means. We're having LiiLD.C with a ton of money as well. I mean, he has a pretty nice bank account here, and is using it right away. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability for the Keeper. Could have maybe even gotten it a bit earlier so that he wouldn't have been forced to TP out in the last fight. But then Scroll of Healing gets a second one as well. Like, he is looking fantastic right now. WaN has the TP, but at this point, okay, tries to go again for the hero kills. Coil Nova, attempt on the Keeper, but keep in mind that Potion of Lesser Invulnerability is going to make that difficult. Still keeping the units alive, occupying his opponent as much as he can, but he will have to TP out here eventually, and if he doesn't, he's going to lose more than only one elimination. I mean, even with the Dispel, one abo is down. If the Dryads get close enough to slow another one down, that's going to be it. But you can really tell that he's just trying to play cat and mouse with him. He's really only attempting to keep the Night Elf busy. And LiiLD.C actually crossed over into high upkeep as well. It's sitting on 82 supply now. Whereas looking down towards the bottom of the map, we are actually seeing right now WaN with 2 mining gold mines here, trying to do whatever he can with this, but it's going to be tricky. And again, eventually, White and Nerdy is going to have to TP out here, and he should do it soon, or he's going to lose a lot more abominations. TP's out, tries to get another Huntress, actually gets it, but now things are dire. LiiLD.C just full in your face, buddy. Gets the Tree of Life right across the main base of his opponent. So WaN started to actually increase his own supply by a bit, and meat wagons are of course a fantastic counter against the Dryads and against the Hunters here, so that's going to help him a bit. The problem is that I'm not sure if that meat shield is really going to be enough for him. The push is going to be coming, and WaN trying to get more supply up. He's at 66 right now against 81. Here comes again in the backline actually the Nova into the Archers. That was fantastic. The Alchemist at level 4 is still an issue, and keep in mind that both of these heroes also hold healing scrolls, so there's a lot of power on the side of the Night Elf. Especially since the Keeper's on 5.5, if he gets Tranquility, it's another big issue here. Hero levels alone are just a huge problem. I mean, you look at that Lich, he's on level 4, Death Knight at least on 5, couple of Fiends coming in from the side here as well. Those are going to be taken out soon, and that fight is going to be forced through the Entangle. Once again, the control in this game from the Night Elf player, absolutely fantastic. Huntress trying to take out those meat wagons to make sure that they are not racking through them. A lot of those hunts actually falling, but the Keeper is once again exposed. White and Nerdy trying to maybe even get a town portal here so far. No chance for him. Fully in a corner, gets the TP, TP's out, tries to get a few more hunts and gets one, but he loses the Abomination in the process. Down to 56 supply again. The 2 meat wagons have actually done a lot of work here. The Lich on 4 finally, and looking at Death Knight, we're still seeing him on 5.5. The problem, of course, being that expansion had to be cancelled. The problem, of course, being that we have now, well, 3 gold mines against 2. But we're at least having a couple of Spirit Towers here, so WaN is holding on to the game. A 60 supply for him against the 84 for LiiLD.C. The high upkeep for the Night Elf player is going to make those gold mines a little bit less effective than what he would probably like, but he still has a massive hero advantage and great items. Once again, the Dark Ritual here being used to top up the mana of the Lich, trying to get another Nova in here as the Alchemist attempts to heal everything up. Especially those meat wagons are going to be a bit of a problem. Full tier 2 army here for LiiLD.C, the Swedish player. I think Chimera roosts as well now though, as he is on tier 3, so he tries to get a few additional units in. And on the upgrade side, he is actually looking at 2-2, getting a few more upgrades in the meantime now as well for melee. The fight, on the other hand, gonna circle around the nuke power of the Undead player, and the attempt, of course, to get those meat wagons into a good position. If he can rip through those hunts and dryads, that might be a great position for him here. But so far, WaN is starting to fight back. 69 supply for him now. A little bit more nuking coming in. Disease Cloud on the ground. And we're seeing again, he can't funnel in here. LiiLD.C is actually going into the choke point against the meat wagons. And that's going to be a huge problem. Meat wagons in the back starting to get the damage out. But of course, even with the AoE, there are scrolls of healing. And he just brute forces his way into the back of the Undead army. Acolytes, Abominations at the front still there. First Chimera in the mix though, and if those meat wagons go down, he doesn't have anything. 5 on the Alchemist now. The Keeper has fallen though. Keeper down, but the Lich is also in trouble. Does he get another call through? And he does. Lich survives for the time being, but with the Keeper down, maybe the underplayer even having a bit of a chance here. 53 supply for him, 84 for LiiLD.C. A massive supply advantage for the Night Elf player. Again, the Dark Ritual being used on an Abomination. Here's the Chimera is already about to drop it, but once again the coils are saving that Lich as he starts to fall. Glaive Thrower is coming in now as well, and we're just seeing an absolute slaughter here as LiiLD.C drops down to 67 supply. WaN hasn't given up just yet. He's down to 50 at this point. Gets the level up for the Lich. Level 6 for the Death Knight. High level heroes here on the side of the German Undead player. But still, when it comes to the economy, he is far behind. LiiLD.C adding another expansion up to the top left. Nova racking through those archers. Another 2 falling. And the Death Knight now in hot pursuit with the Unholy Aura, trying to at least get the Glaive Thrower here. Can't really close the distance to the Alchemist. But another Glaive Thrower falls. And we have another expansion about to be added by White and Nerdy. Necropolis and Haunted Goldmine in play, and now the onslaught onto the expansion. Chimera still in play here. 48 supply for White and Nerdy. LiiLD.C at 73. Alchemist on level 5.5. Transmute would be fantastic for him if he gets the item that the ultimate. That would be absolutely amazing for him right now. Gets the speed upgrade for his trees. Tree of Eternity already on the move, and in the meantime a few fiends are joining the fun. And with that, we could actually see those Chimeras in a little bit of trouble. So this is one of the things that could definitely happen here. But he's trying to go for the gold mine once again. 3 Chimeras by now. And especially the Abominations need to be so careful here. WaN has done an incredible job in the last few team fights with the Dark Ritual to at least make sure that he gets something once those Abominations get attacked. But at the time being, 81 supply again for LiiLD.C crossing over into high upkeep once again. Night Elf player losing a lot to those upkeep numbers, but here comes again the Keeper. Didn't use the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability in the earlier fight, but is now just trying to force that battle again. Another Abomination about to go down. Dark Ritual comes through, denies the experience, but the Entangle on the Lich. The Coil could save him. Enough mana on the Death Knight for sure, as we are seeing the Keeper angle for another Entangle. Once again, the Nova into the Huntress this time. And 1 statue down as WaN is on the retreat. Still Ilaria's Flute in the inventory, and this time around he has a couple of fiends in the party, so he can dish out a bit more damage. Down here, another gold mine, already mining, up to the top, tree in position, but hasn't started mining just yet. This game got a lot more exciting than originally expected, considering how dominant that early and mid game of the Night Elf player was. That Potion of Lesser Invulnerability was something that he definitely missed to use in the last fight. But keep in mind, there is still a Potion of Greater Healing for the Alchemist, and that bad boy is nearly on level 6. Now WaN needs a few more items and is currently trying to get those. Gets the Town Portal, tries to move up to the top, still a Potion of Invulnerability in his inventory. Lich on 5. Hasn't really gotten too much here. Sees the Tree of Eternity, but here come once more those Chimeras. The immediate Nova, the Coil, making sure that the Lich is not falling too low, but he's trying to fight. It's always just hit and run at this point. Trying to go in, take down a unit, and then move away, utilizing that level 3 Unholy Aura. Oh, the Coil! That might have actually just been a little bit too much. Okay, passes over the Potion of Invulnerability. There's the Coil once again, but so many chimps at this point. The Chimeras are everywhere, focusing the Lich, trying to take him down. Web is coming in, 1 chim already down, and here come the healing sprays at the same time. Death Knight in trouble, gets the Town Portal through, and gets out with everything actually at this point. 60 supply for White and Nerdy, 87 for LiiLD.C, the Keeper on 6, Tranquility being used now as well to just heal that army up, but the expansions for White and Nerdy, they are running. And again, you look at the minimap and you're actually seeing that there's expansions everywhere for the Night Elf player as well. He's currently about to mine from 4 bases. which is pretty insane. 94 supply now for him. Upgrades, by the way, on the Fiends, absolutely non-existent. We have 2-2 on the side of the Huntress. And yep, that alone is already a bit of a bummer here for White and Nerdy, but he's still trying to get his nuke power in. Mana is going to be a huge aspect for him in this game. Don't think he has actually skilled Dark Ritual at any point. No, it doesn't seem like it. The Unholy Aura is on level 3, the Coil as well. So no chance to actually heal that Death Knight. That might become a little bit of a problem later on. Town Portal had again to be bought. And at the time being, those chimps are just absolutely destroying the bottom right. LiiLD.C on 90 supply against WaN on 66. Trading base for base. Well, actually not quite. The gold mine goes down. The base itself, the Tree of Eternity, is not going to fall anytime soon. And I assume that if need be, we're going to see LiiLD.C use that town portal. But he just stays strong for the time being. TP's out as we're having him try and save his own base, because by now we had the Chimeras actually start to head over and attack this one. There's still one banning base for him, so he's not completely out of it just yet, but he is desperately trying to hold on to this game. I honestly gotta admit that outside of hero nuking once more against the Keeper, for example, I see very little chance for White and Nerdy to bring this over time, especially considering that the Alchemist is soon gonna hit level 6 as well, and Transmute is gonna be fantastic to drop those destroyers as well. That's gonna be a lot of money on his side, and of course easy kills with a pretty low cooldown to boot, so that isn't too bad. It all depends again on the nuke power that we're having here. And with 68, 70 supply, WaN needs to really start and get some pressure. And here comes the Nova again. But those Chimeras do work. Again, the hit and run strategies of the Undead players. He moves in with the web right away. Tranquility being used, and he is hightailing it out there. There comes the quick move onto the Death Knight, and he goes down. The Potion of Invulnerability used too late. GG, as LiiLD.C goes 1-0 in the series. Game number 2, everyone. WaN was a little bit destroyed in the last game. Turtle Rock actually turned out to be a really good map there for the Nightelf. LiiLD.C played this well. Even though the Undead player, actually with a good effort, A for effort for sure, was able to fight back a bit. Bottom left of the map now, a similar start for him again. Crypt and Altar of Darkness, so not a direct Fiend opening for him. Up to the top right, we have the Swedish player. Now again, I want to remind everyone, this is actually a best of 2. This is not a best of 3, so the way that this is going to be played out, this is part of the Germany versus Sweden Nations Cup. And in this series we have 4 best of 1s, we have a best of 2, and this is a best of 2 series that we're currently looking at. The additional game is only going to be needed if there is a tie. So yeah, there is going to be a bracket linked in the description as well that you can check out for more details. But for the time being, let's see if WaN can actually get this one map, or if on the other hand we are going to see LiiLD.C with a 2-0 victory over his opponent. In terms of heroes, again, as we said before, even in the new patch, the Keeper so far still reigns supreme. There have been a lot of attempts by Night Elf players, at least on the ladder, to get other heroes into play. We've seen a little bit of Warden, Tinkering, less so. A bit of Demon Hunter as well, but mostly you will still see the Keeper. The control that he brings to the Night Elf play is still absolutely fantastic. Creeping extremely easy through the treants as well, so that's not going to change anytime soon. Whereas for the Undead, of course, as you would expect, you get the Death Knight here. There's a couple of Undead players that we currently see that still occasionally start to go into different heroes outside of the Undead versus Undead matchup. We see a bit of Dreadlord, for example, from players like Ende Madfrog experimenting with that a lot as well. Playing a little bit of that old school style where you also start getting gargoyles back into the game. But at this point, we're still having the standard hero, which is definitely the Death Knight. He just adds way too much. You can harass your opponent with Death Coil. You have it as a healing tool as well if you are attacked. And especially if you are playing with Fiends, it's one of these absolutely fantastic items that it's very difficult to pass up on. Already we're seeing creeping as expected. It is treants on the level 1 for the keeper, so you have a bit of a block at the front. And at the same time here on Last Refuge we're seeing also now WaN trying to get as quickly as possible to level 2. You want to have that aura if you can, and of course the initial items here are also fairly important for the Death Knight. In this case we're actually going to see him passing those Gloves of Haste over to the Lich later on, trying to just pack that onto the ranged hero with as many of the damage items as he can possibly get. That's going to happen. And we're seeing actually the Spider-Man socks here for the keeper. Not really going to do too much for him with the agility. We can expect Alchemist as a second hero for him too, but it's a bit unlikely that we're going to see any kind of agility hero in this case. The Acolyte, a real killer here. Like that guy, look at him. Mercilessly trying to take that Wisp down, and then Archer comes in and is destroying all the fun. This, on the other hand, is already pretty cool. So trying to lure out the Augur Lord and then surrounding him, making sure that he can take that one down. And yep, that's gonna give you an early item if you can land that surround, and indeed he can. So a very, very early creep for him. Had to move a little bit closer than he probably wanted and triggered the Augur Magi here as well, but he is still not... loses one ghoul, but gets the experience right away and has to TP too, as his main base is being attacked here. Plus 12 claws though, that's at least a bit of a win, but that timing here for LiiLD.C was fantastic. Coming in to harass the base, and with the tech already started, he needed to go in, make sure that he uses his TP here, but you can already tell that this is rough. Losing 2 Acolytes to this, while in tech, honestly, I would have expected him to go cancel the tech and add 2 more Acolytes, but instead he's just sticking it out with this. Up to the top here, just buying a bit of time, getting the Death Knight in, but yeah, we'll have to hightail it out now that we're having the archers showing up too. I mean, it was a little bit greedy by WaN as well. He didn't have an Erubian tower in his base, and he was just hoping that there wouldn't be any harass whatsoever as he was going for that creep spot. Could have worked out for him too. As it happens, though, it didn't quite. The claws of attack plus 12 are going to be fantastic, though, for the Lich later, don't get me wrong. But he's losing a lot. Losing those 2 Acolytes was a huge problem. Tech still only a little bit more than halfway completed, and things are already rough from the get-go here for WaN, as we're having LiiLD.C in a fantastic position. That creep, so that harass in the main base was just great for him. Getting 2 Acolytes, getting out, and also drawing the town portal, first of all. Another fantastic move here by him. Attempt to go again for a couple of kills here. Has the Dust of Appearance and steals the item away. Easily takes the Sentry Awards, as we're seeing LiiLD.C apparently busy building in his main base, not really paying attention to anything here. Talking about main base, Tree of Life upgraded. I don't see an expansion for him just yet. Actually, we do. Okay, I was already wondering. I was like, wait a second. Late tech into tier 2? Where's the expansion? But yeah, there we have it. So, Tree of Life has been built. Actually starts to draw a few of those creeps over to try and help out attacking that. But there's another dead ghoul keeper, therefore, hitting level 3. Main base tech for WaN completed, so Acolyte is immediately being built. Puts the graveyard into play, but we should, after that, immediately see the Halls of Dead being upgraded into the Black Citadel again. That's what you would expect in this case. Alright, that's actually not too bad. I mean, the item that he just stole, the Sentry Wards, was pretty sweet for him, because now he's in a spot where he has a pretty good idea of the troop movements, at least at the upper part. Alchemist gets surrounded as he's getting bought here. Great move by White and Nerdy, and that's going to be an easy kill. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really well done. That was actually great. Okay, coils the ghoul. Keeper very likely to be able to escape here, even with the aura on level 2. I don't see him escaping anytime, getting surrounded anytime soon. But now if he can maybe move up and try and delay the expansion a bit, that would be absolutely great for him. Still dodging around with the Death Knight versus Keeper. But going for Naga, actually. Alright, with the delay that he had and the pressure that he wants to build up, not even going for a Lich, instead going for the Naga, gonna pass over those items anyways and tries to put some pressure onto the expansion here. So aggressive play from White and Nerdy, not going for the Black Citadel just yet. thanks to all the items that he just bought. He's also a little bit low in terms of gold, or the hero here. Has the hero now, of course, a little bit earlier too. Now that's a huge advantage if you're going for a tavern hero, that you have it so much faster than if you would just go for your own, for training one. So you can put a bit more pressure onto this. So far it's at least working out. I mean, those entangles are still a beast to deal with. But at the same time, he took an archer down. He's able to apply a little bit more pressure here with the Naga as well, getting that keeper already low. And one of the main ideas is delay the expansion for as long as you can. And that expansion already starting to hit pretty heavily. Death Knight still on 2, not even level 3 yet. That's still an issue. And keep in mind that Town Portal that was used earlier. Can't even use that as a panic button if he wants to retreat. Still no tech into tier 3. Still just pressing ghouls. Having quite a few here. Not using them just yet, but the problem of course is that LiiLD.C with the second hero has now also started to add a couple of Ancient of Winds, and Fairy Dragons are pretty annoying if you're an undead. The problem, or one of the main problems, is that they're also magic immune, so you can't even use any kind of Coil Nova action, or in this case it would be Forked Lightning, to try and take them down. So it's really tricky for an undead player to deal with them, since undeads usually rely heavily on their nuke abilities. So that's not going to happen. Bit more creeping going on here. Tier 3 tech also started into Black Citadel. Now, Naga here is going to still be doing quite a bit of work from a distance, especially, of course, with the Gloves of Haste and the Claws of Attack plus 12. That extra damage that we're going to see from her is going to be great. Finally, level 3 here for the Death Knight. That was actually one of the main problems, harassing the expansion up at the top. I think a level 3 Death Knight would have really gone a long way there. Could have done a lot more damage with that, maybe snipe a few more archers. Another item coming in. One of the wins. Not really too bad, considering. Level 2 for the Naga as well, but that expansion, of course, is soon going to be in play, and that's going to make things difficult. WaN is at 36 supply against 46, and now we're seeing even more creep going on the side of LiiLD.C, and the Keeper is closing in on 4. Oh god, you can stick that flute where the sun don't shine, my friend. Like, Alchemist now with a flute, and that is just brutal. For Night Elf, it's literally one of the best items that you can possibly get. Nearly everything you have is ranged outside of Mountain Giants, the Druids of the Claws, or the Fairy Dragons, potential Hunters, Archers, all benefiting now from the flute. And for team fights later on, this is going to be absolutely insane for LiiLD.C. He is already in the lead, and it would just be absolutely amazing if he can force big fights with the help of the item here. Gets one of Mana Stealing, which is gonna be very helpful. Has a Staff of Preservation already in his inventory now too. Great items here for him, no doubt about it. Alchemist wants 3, Keeper has 4. And let's double check what we're seeing on the other side. Okay, yeah. Crypt Fiend's being added. Has of course a bit of an idea of what's being played on the other side. Has scouted pretty vigorously, and also has those extra observer ward, or one of them at least, up at the top. Yeah, sees the Fairy Dragons, and that's gonna make things pretty annoying and difficult here. So the piercing damage, light armored, very difficult to take down here. The Naga actually at this point is probably the best tool that he has in this setup. I mean, looking into the main base, we have at least the tier 3 tech completed. There's the Lich. Alright, adding a little bit more damage from range. That can also, of course, help with the Fairy Dragons. Scourge Bone Chimes. Jesus! Like, that Alchemist is getting absolutely brutal. I mean, double aura for him already. And that's the item that WaN just barely didn't get. Now then again, he won't be able to rely on the late game on the ghouls anyways. I mean, what am I saying here? Like, Scourge Bone Jumps would have been fantastic for him. Any aura item at this point, basically any, would just be great and helps you a huge amount. So for the time being, it's all about just getting additional experience. Can't really do anything about the items that the Night Elf player has, try and get some XP for himself, but LiiLD.C is playing this absolutely perfectly. He knows he's currently having an advantage, he has the expansion, time is playing in his favor too. Massive pressure on the Death Knight now, and tries to take him down here. DK is down to 60 hit points, and everything is all of a sudden in trouble. Quick coil, trying to save the Fiend here. Death Knight on 10, 2 hit points, goes down to the acid spray. That's the kill. That might be game. Naga in trouble, one of the wind being used, and he's trying to go for the surround. The Lich is at least in the game as well and helps him out a bit, but there's the GG as WaN goes down with an 0-2 against LiiLD.C, and Sweden takes the lead against Germany.